I waited a long time to make this video, comparing Eren Yeager to characters from different anime. But other than just comparing characters, I wanted to take this video in a unique direction, to show you something new. So yeah, this video is going to be kinda crazy. Anyway, to do all that, I needed to find a character that counters Eren, and I knew exactly who. This character's quirk always fascinated me, and it actually can explain the science and the philosophy behind Attack on Titan. You know who I mean. And of course, I'm talking about Nope, it's Nighteye. Let's talk about it. Hello everyone and welcome back to a new Attack on Titan video comparison of Eren and Nighteye. Of course, I won't be comparing them one-to-one because, let's face it, Eren and Nighteye are nothing alike as individuals, but his quirk and Eren's Titan power are an exception. And today I'm going to show you how their powers almost complete each other. My Hero Academia offers one simple clarification of how time works, and if that was mentioned in Attack on Titan, it would have made people understand it much better. So first, a quick recap for anyone who needs it. Night-Eye's quirk activates whenever he touches and comes in eye contact with his target. When those terms are met, Night-Eye can see 24 hours into the future of his target, watching it like a third person watching a movie. In Eren's case, it's much more complicated because he only saw glimpses of the future without seeing the way to get there. For him, that happened when he touched Historia and witnessed tons of memories from the past, future and present. Unlike Nighteye, who can see the normal timeline and events happening to his target, for Eren, it is much messier. It actually makes it impossible for him to use this information because he doesn't know what his future self did, so he cannot tell if he's changing anything or just repeating his actions. But what if I told you that both powers are actually very alike? Yes, they operate differently, but they both follow the same physical and philosophical aspects. Eren slowly realizes that the future can't be changed. Everything he saw will eventually come true. Eren got exposed to those memories passively. He didn't have any control over it, which definitely contributed to his disorientation. But unlike him, Nighteye can control his quirk, and therefore he has a choice, when or whenever to activate it. Later we find out that Nighteye was afraid to look into All Might's future in case he was destined to die. But he wasn't afraid from knowing the future. He was afraid that just from watching a future, he locks it in place, making it unchangeable. Basically, he suspects that the fact he sees a certain future is also the trigger or the reason for that future to eventually happen. And guess what? He is not wrong, at least from a scientific point of view. And his fear of seeing the future is what is missing in Attack on Titan's presentation of future that cannot be changed. And to tie everything together and show you the science behind it without making you fall asleep, we need cats. Lots of cats. And this is when this video is getting crazier, but stay with me, you're gonna like where this is going. And also take a moment to subscribe and like this video. After all, I brought you cats. What we are talking about here is actually an extremely advanced theoretical physics theory. It comes to explain the existence of alternate realities, what you may call the multiverse, but its scientific term is the many-world theory. Now, what does it got to do with seeing the future? A lot actually. And in both cases, Eren and Nighteye are basically the same. So I mentioned cats, and here is where they come in. Schrodinger's cat. Schrodinger's cat was a visual experiment representation trying to explain the existence of alternate realities. Of course, the math behind it is way above my pay grade, and in reality it deals with particles, wavelength, and quantum physics. And that is why this experiment was created, to help people visualize it a bit better. So in this experiment, a cat was placed into a box with a little device that dispenses poison randomly. Now remember, this is not an actual living cat, this is just a thought experiment, so no actual cat got hurt, just chill. Anyway, the box is then closed with no way to know what's going on inside. Schrodinger claimed that now we no longer can be sure if the cat is dead or alive, not until we open the box. But as long as it remained closed, the cat is both dead and also alive, existing in those two states. That is of course until someone will open the box and look inside. Now why is the cat both dead and alive and we don't just say, for example, there is a 50-50 chance either way? That is because the cat is just a simple representation of an entire reality. In our example, there are only two choices, life or death, to make the experiment simple to understand. But theoretically, inside this box there are infinite possibilities of everything, and as long as the box remains closed, they are all considered to all exist at the same time. That is the premise behind the cat in Schrodinger's cat experiment, but of course, that's not the best part. We are interested in what happens next. As I said, all those things exist at the same time as long as no outside force is looking inside of the box. The box is still closed. The cat is still considered both dead and alive. But the really freaky stuff happens when someone opens the box and looks inside. The observer. The experiment then offers an outside observer to open the box and look inside. At the moment he does that, reality, nature, or whatever force you may call it, has to set on one reality. The cat can't be both dead and alive once we open the box. So at the moment the observer looks inside, a decision is made. But at the moment it happens, the reality inside of the box and the reality of the observer becomes one. And just to remind you, the cat is a representation of an entire reality. So, to put it simply, if he opens the box and finds the cat alive, he is now part of the reality inside of the box, a reality where this cat survived. But at the same time, another observer opens the box and finds a dead cat, making him live in a reality where the cat didn't survive. And this is how we get alternate realities, but look what also happened. The observer, simply by looking inside of the box, made some force set on a single reality, a live or a dead cat. But then this reality also affects the observer. This way, they both affect each other. And by now, I guess you figured out that the observers in our stories are Eren and Nighteye. Nighteye looks into the box whenever he uses his quirk. But just like the box we mentioned, just the idea of him looking and seeing a future also locks that future, making it a reality. And that reality becomes his reality, as he is afraid to see a future where All Might will die. For Eren it's much more accurate and also complicated. Eren looked inside of the box when he touched Historia's hand. He then saw future memories that we all know came true. And scientifically, and also like in Night-Eye's case, just seeing them locked them in place, making them unchangeable, and that's why the future can't be changed according to physics. Well, physics for dummies, because let's face it, we're still talking about me. Everything I explained is extremely simplified. I only made it easier to process and apply to our story. Both observers looked inside the box, and just from looking, they locked this reality for them as well. But after all that, Eren and Night-Eye are not equals. Night-Eye later sees one of his predictions go wrong. He explains it by saying other time-related quirks may change the outcome of his quirk. For Eren, that could never happen because this power is pretty unique. There isn't something to contradict it like in Night-Eye's and Erie's case. Why is that? One example is the same as before, and if Night-Eye sees a different outcome, he actually sees a different reality. But that won't make much sense, because he shouldn't be aware of different realities. Another explanation, and a much simpler one, is that Night-Eye is not the actual observer in his universe, unlike Eren. We need to understand that this observer is also a representation of some higher power. Some will even call it God or godlike. Others will call it supernatural or out of this world. So the observer needs to be someone extremely unique, who no one can see from his or her perspective. And clearly, for Night-Eye, that's not the case, because apparently there are much stronger quirks that deal with time, so he's not as unique as Eren in his universe. But in both cases, the idea is the same. Looking into the unknown future will undeniably bring that future. But of course, that only works in a scientific setting, so it's less accurate for My Hero Academia, but extremely accurate for Attack on Titan. And here is when I want to show you another example which is also a spoiler. So if you don't want to get any spoilers for the ending, you should stop watching now. And I hope you enjoyed the video so far, and thank you all for watching. Okay, so like I said, for Attack on Titan the idea of the observer can be applied almost perfectly. In our story, we get a look of different realities, several ones, with the most famous one being the cabin scene. I explained this scene so many times as an alternate reality of Attack on Titan, a different road taken. Many times I showed you how this Eren is not aware of the Eren of our reality. The only one aware of everything is Mikasa, but I will get to that. So how is this cabin scene even possible? In the cabin reality, Eren was also the observer. He looked inside the box the same way, but with one difference. He simply saw a different cat. The Eren of our story saw a specific set of events that naturally became his reality. If the observer opens the box and finds a live cat means there is another version who opens the box and found a dead cat, it also means that Eren, our observer, saw a live cat, while the Eren of a different reality found a dead cat inside of the box. For both of them, the cat that represented reality became their future, and that is why their futures look different. And it goes both ways, not only into the future, showing you that alternate realities had also different pasts, shown best by the king's chair design and general events being different in another life, another reality. But as I mentioned before, Attack on Titan is much more unique and complicated, at least when dealing with time and alternate realities, because Attack on Titan has a secret Joker, someone even more powerful than the actual observer. And we will get more in-depth into all of that in the near future when I finally get to explain what is Mikasa. And that is all for this video, my Titan-loving friends, and I hope you enjoyed. I will see you all real soon in my next video and even sooner in the comments. And until next time, let me just remind you all to dedicate your hearts to all of humanity, inside and outside the walls.